Are you an addictive eater? Obesity has become an epidemic, affecting a major portion of the world's population. Due to this obesity epidemic, a term called food addiction come into the light and commanding the attention of many experts and researchers. We all know we need food to survive, to gain energy to perform various activities. But there are instances when we are consuming food for reasons far beyond just fundamentals. If you feel like you tend to overeat most of the times or cannot limit your intake or cravings for unhealthy food, especially refined carbs, then you are in a trouble. And this trouble is known as food addiction. Yes, along with harmful drugs and alcohol, we can develop an addiction to food. What does addictive eating actually mean? Food addiction is the case of experiencing uncontrollable cravings for excess food, mostly highly processed carbs. This is particularly seen mostly after ingestion of refined carbohydrates, flour or processed sugar, which get metabolized quickly and turned into sugar in our bloodstream. The concept of food addiction is quite simple. A person becomes addicted to food in the same way as a person can get addicted to drugs. It affects the same areas of the brain, involves the same neurotransmitters and exhibits almost identical symptoms. How food addiction actually works? Whenever we consume processed or junk foods, it impacts our brain's reward system strongly with the involvement of the brain's neurotransmitters like dopamine. Many people believe that food addiction is all about willpower, but in reality, it's not. It is not caused by lack of willpower. The actual cause is dopamine, which hijacked the brain's biochemistry, resulting in food addiction. Common addictive foods. Studies suggest that foods that cause addiction are highly processed foods like junk food, with sugar or wheat or both. It includes pizza, burgers with bread, French fries, sweets with high sugar content. These foods cause addictive behaviors same as drug addicts. The characteristic of addiction is the same as drug addiction, like rapid absorption or high dose to attain the same level of euphoria, etc. It's no secret that these are the same foods which are responsible for the obesity epidemic. Along with the obesity epidemic, people ingest these foods to cope with their stress and problems or in emotional eating. Signs and symptoms of food addiction. Food addiction is a serious problem, but it cannot be diagnosed from any blood test. Just like other behavioral addictions, it is diagnosed by identifying symptoms in an addict. Below are common symptoms of food addict. Experiencing intense and frequent cravings for unhealthy foods, even if you've just eaten a healthy meal. Lose control to limit the intake of unhealthy foods or the foods you craved for. Whenever you get to eat foods you are craving for so long, you tend to overeat to the point you are feeling overstuffed. Feeling guilty after eating certain foods, but you can't avoid eating them again, whenever you get the chance. Finding or making excuses in order to convince yourself that why you should eat the food you are craving. Being unsuccessful in every attempt of quitting your overeating habits or abstinence of particular foods. You tend to hide your cravings and your consumption of unhealthy foods from others and lie to them. You know the harmful effects of consuming unhealthy foods, but you ought to overlook them. If you are exhibiting the above-mentioned symptoms or someone you know is exhibiting, then there's a serious case of food addiction which needs proper treatment. Treatment of food addiction. There are many 12-step programs or Food Addict Anonyms which offers effective help for recovery from food addiction. Many experts are trying to find a potential medical treatment to treat food addiction because they are still researching the continuous phenomena of food addiction. There are several tips that can help you in your recovery. Tips to recover from food addiction. Avoid foods you tend to overeat. The best way to combat your food addiction is to avoid the certain foods you feel craved for. Make a list of those foods and try to avoid them as much as you can. Go for complete abstinence. Dodge fast food places. Make a list of all the fast food restaurants that serves unhealthy food items. Try to avoid them as much as you can. This comes in handy when you are feeling tired and not in the mood to cook. Plan your meal beforehand. Plan your next meal in advance and preferably keep it within your reach. Better make choices of healthy foods which you are already eating. Make a list of pros and cons. It is better to write down the pros and cons and keep it at your work desk, kitchen, wallet, etc. You may often need a constant reminder about why you are doing this. In the end, you need to seek medical help for your addiction. Food addiction is as severe as drug addiction and needs to be treated accordingly.